Do you have a hard time trying to accept when you need help, when you have a problem, when you are not alright and you need something else, when you need help, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling sad or mad? Do you have a hard time trying to accept those feelings, how you're feeling, and trying to talk about it, to accept that with yourself? Do you tend to hide your feelings and say to yourself, no, it's okay, just lie to yourself and say, I'm not feeling anything like that, everything is fine, and just ignore the situation? Do you do that? Or you just hide it for the other people, but you have to deal with it in your body, in your soul, the whole time, and very inside you, you're not happy, right? And yes, it's not easy. Nobody likes being vulnerable. It's not easy, it's not nice to expose yourself, to feel that when you do it, you feel weak. You're gonna be seen as a weak person by the others. That's usually what people tend to think, right? But if I tell you that actually being vulnerable is a key to your happiness, key to find peace with yourself, to connect with other people, to find empathy, and most important than all, being vulnerable is necessary to love yourself, for your self-esteem, for your confidence. If you want to be confident, you also have to be vulnerable as well, to be authentic and genuinely happy. Hi, I'm Leslie, and I've been through a journey of self-development, overcoming challenges such as anxiety, getting through divorce, unemployment, while adapting to a new country like Germany in my case. I want to share my experiences with you because I know how it feels like to struggle with no hope. But I know that patience, perseverance, and love are key, and I'm here to show you that it's possible to overcome these challenges. So today I want to talk about the importance of being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is something that has been seen as something bad. Many people see it, especially men, they see it as something bad, like, oh, if you do it, if we express our feelings, if we are vulnerable, then we are weak, we are not gonna be respected, we are gonna be let down, and it's actually not very well seen by many people, by the society in general, right? It's most commonly seen for women, like that's okay, but for men it's actually really bad. And what I have found out is that that's a problem, not just for men, but for women as well. Like in general, like the whole society has this problem of not wanting to show vulnerability. And that's something that happened to me as well. Of course, it's not for everybody, not for many people, but for some people. And if you have gone, or if you're going through a situation like that and you are having a hard time trying to being vulnerable, express your feelings, and you hide your feelings instead, you try to avoid them, to ignore them, to put them on the side because you do not want to be vulnerable, because that's something bad, right? When I was little, they told me I should not cry, I should not express my feelings, I should better be quiet and don't cry, don't say anything, don't get mad. So most people don't do it and they ignored their feelings. So ever since when they were little, they learned how to do it, and that's the way they deal with their feelings, which is really bad because that generates many communication problems, trust problems that later on in life they're gonna be having a very hard time with, while building relationships, while making friendships, while many things in the daily life that has influence on that. Hiding and avoiding your emotions, your feelings, only does harm to you. It does not help. It's not good. It doesn't make you feel better, make you feel good. But it does the opposite. It does harm to you. It's not good for you. And that's what I want to talk about today. So first of all, I want to say why it's something bad, why you should express your feelings, and why that's actually a good idea. That's something that actually all the people should practice. Because if you do not want to do harm to yourself, you should be vulnerable and just put it into practice. Also for the other people. And second, I want to talk about my experience with vulnerability and explain why I decided to talk about it, because it was not something I just decided and I started studying it and say, okay, maybe choose this topic. No, it was something that really showed up in my life, and something I realized about through all of this self-development process I have gone through in Germany during the last few years. I'm gonna explain you that into details, but first let's go to the first point. So as I told you before, hiding your feelings, avoiding them, ignoring them is not something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel better. If you're someone who does that and has this kind of practice very often, maybe you do it unconsciously, maybe consciously. I think most people do it unconsciously, like they learned to do that when they were little because of their families or their friends. They were like, don't cry, don't do it. And if you think you're gonna cry, you're a girl or you're a baby or just whatever, That's how it used to be, especially for men. So if you're a man and you're afraid to show your feelings, come on, be vulnerable. That's something that happened in the past. But if you still don't want to do it, you still have this belief and you insist on keeping your feelings trapped, not show them, not being vulnerable, don't show or don't expose yourself. I'm telling you, that's something very bad that might have been having implications on your relationships, on your family, on how you feel with yourself as well, on many things in life. So it's time for you to think about it and reflect upon it and realize that being vulnerable actually is a superpower. So why is it bad? Why does it harm to you? Because the more you store your feelings or you ignore them, you don't communicate that and you try to avoid it. Sometimes it happens unconsciously. I know because I did it also, and I have done it for many times in my life. And it's like a protection mechanism many people use in order to protect yourself, because you don't want to be exposed, you don't want to get hurt, so you don't get close to people, you don't show what you're really feeling. If you're feeling mad or weak or sad, you don't want other people know about that, because you are supposed to be the one who always is okay, who's always fine. But if you don't do it, what's the problem? There's going to be a huge communication problem. And then if you are dealing with other people, if you're in a relationship with other people, that happens a lot with family, with friends, with relationships. When there's problem and something that's not right, something that's happening, and you don't communicate it, you don't express that, you try to avoid it, it's gonna come out somehow. Then you're gonna be reacting in a very different way with your friends or with your family. You're gonna end up doing things you didn't want to do because of that. And the other people, they have no idea about that. They might be thinking, okay, what happened with this person? Why is he reacting that way? Or why is she doing this and that and acting like crazy? Like, what's going on? And they have no idea what's going on in the life of the person. They have no idea why this person got away, or why this person seemed a little bit isolated, or why this person is behaving in this weird way or doing these weird things, behaviors, right? If you do not communicate and express what's going on, there's a huge communication problem that is going to cause certain different problems between you and the people you are with. People notice it. People notice that and they realize about it. They might be like, what's going on with this person? When you try to hide your feelings and avoid them, okay, maybe you don't express that, but you end up doing something in order to compensate what you're feeling. Of course, most of the time it's not consciously, and that's the problem. That's something that it's very difficult to control, to manage, because it's something that is still there in your body, in your mind. And it has to find an outlet somehow, somewhere, sometime. And that's why many problems happen. Many people ended up doing things to other people. They ended up just like cheating, or they end up doing many different things that hurt other people, or they hurt themselves as well, or they ended up isolating themselves and showing a completely different mask to society, to their family, even to their spouse and partners. And when they're alone, they live in a total different world, crying and feeling bad and trying to hide their feelings because they're not really happy. Is that the life you really want to live? Is that really the best way to have a relationship, a connection with others? Is that the best way to communicate and have a healthy relationship with the others and with yourself? Is that really the best way to do it? Are you happy that way? Of course not. Of course not. And if you keep doing it, the more you do it, the more you hide and ignore and avoid your feelings, the worse it's going to be in the long term. Something's going to happen, you're going to end up getting depressed, you're going to end up having more problems with your partner or family or with these friends. There's many implications from that. You cannot really tell in this moment. You cannot tell from the beginning because it's something you don't notice. Many people think they do it, they hide their feelings, they don't say anything, and everything's fine, nothing's gonna happen. And you know what? What is the worst? You hurt yourself the most. You hurt yourself the most. So if you want to be happy, if you want to be at peace with yourself, if you want to have a good life, better start being vulnerable. And I'm telling that from my own experience. Well, so how did I realize about it, or how did I come up with this topic? It was because mainly this year, after all of this self-development journey I've been going through and all the breakthroughs I've had and everything I have shared with you in different videos, I have learned so many things, and it's like every time I realize about something, every time I learn something else, that's wonderful. I love this so much. And one of the last realizations I had was about vulnerability. First, it was through some videos where listening to this content creator, Aaron Doughty, I think that's the name. He's a really amazing content creator, YouTuber. He talks about self-development, attachment styles, and he has certain meditations as well. One of the meditations was like this frame meditation where you have to kind of separate your energy and put a frame to your energy to separate your energy from the other people as well. And it's kind of like a very good exercise. And well, watching part of that content, I came to the realization that I had this problem of not being vulnerable. I have always had the problem that I wanted to hide how I felt when I felt bad. Specifically, we're talking about bad feelings, and that's the interesting part about it. When it's good feelings, you usually say good, and I feel happy, and I'm fine, everything. But I did not notice it before. I have not noticed that so much. But after listening to his videos, I was like, that's me. That's me he's talking about right now, because I was, since very little, and I have mostly been, the type of person that tries to hide the bad feelings, the bad emotions. Why? Because I have been always a good girl. When I was little, at home, there were many problems. We had financial problems. My dad had to work so much all the time, and it was really hard, and he was always complaining, and there was always something bad going on. Then my sister was also like kind of black sheep of the family, and she was always doing something that would get my parents very angry. And I had the feeling that I didn't want to cause more trouble. I didn't want to make more trouble. I didn't want to do more harm. So I learned to kind of hide my bad feelings, my problems, my kind of like ignore myself. That's something I realized about it. I have realized with the time. I used to put my feelings and my needs on the side in order to make the whole family feel good, in order to show that everything was fine and I was a good girl and I was always fine and there was nothing bad going on, and it was bad. And actually, now that I think about it, yeah, that's how it was, and that was one of the problems. That was one of the problems, because I didn't want to be vulnerable in a bad way. I didn't want to show when I was weak, when I felt bad, when I was sad, when I was mad. It was really hard to me to show that when I was mad. And now that I think about it, that caused many problems in my life. Of course, like I said before, that was mostly not consciously. It was not like, oh, I'm gonna hide my feelings and I'm not gonna talk about this or that. Sometimes I remember that I would think about it and I'm like, I would like to tell this, but then they're fighting with my sister or they're dealing with this problem and I don't want to bother them anymore. It's okay. It's actually not that bad. And that way I learned to really put my needs aside, my feelings aside, and to make them appear not as main priority, not as with importance that they had. That's what happened to me. And if you are in that situation as well, or if you have been through that situation or a similar one, please keep listening to this because it's the same story. It's my story and it's how I have dealt with it and what I'm learning about it. It's amazing to find out how you are, how you have been, and what you can do in order to get better, right? To realize that it's not just other people that do it and always blame other people and like, man, they don't do that. No, like you somehow also have many things to deal with, a lot to learn, and the more you work on that, the more you realize about it, the better it's gonna be. So yes, that was one of the ways I came up with this topic, with these videos from this YouTuber. And then the other time of my life where I started thinking about it was because last week I started having some conversations with my family. My mom was going through a very difficult situation in her life and she has been telling us and trying to tell us, and I realized about the pattern. I was like, okay, my mom at the beginning, she didn't want to accept and acknowledge she had this problem and she didn't want to say that well and like just tell their feelings and being vulnerable. It's hard. Sometimes it comes from the family as well, right? It's not easy for many people. So when I was talking to my mom, I realized about that and I'm like, I am like that as well. And I'm like, I haven't told her about many things that I have done or many things I have gone through, and I ended up talking about it, and we sympathized each other. We found empathy. We were like, actually we had been going through a similar situation, but we hadn't talked about it that much before. And after you talk about it, you are being vulnerable and you find that empathy and support, and especially if it's someone close to you, you feel better. We ended up laughing that day because we were like, okay, that is funny because we're going through a similar situation, we're going through this and that, and yeah, I was like, why didn't I talk about it before? I felt much better after that, and it also makes me feel good to know what my mom's going through, how I can help, how can I make sure that she's fine, and to know how she is. That's necessary. So why didn't I do it before? Again, because of the same problem. I didn't want to bother anybody with my problems, and you kind of start thinking and lie to yourself and say, no, you're fine, you're good, you don't have that problem, you don't have these bad feelings, those bad emotions, everything is fine. You don't feel sad, you don't feel mad, you're always fine. And you don't want to accept those feelings sometimes. If you're that kind of person, really have to work on that. I'm really learning to be more vulnerable and to express when something bothers me, when there's something I don't like, when I feel sad. And it's not like you have to dwell in that feeling and live with it. No, it's not like that. You express it and you say, okay, I'm having this feeling right now that this and that. And that's it. It doesn't mean that you're going to be feeling sad the whole day or the whole week, but it's important that you know how to express your feelings and what you want, what bothers you as well. If you're mad, you have to say it. And especially if it's people close to you that care about you, try to express it and let them know how you feel, how you are. Don't hide it. For me, it was a relief, and it's a relief to know how my mom is and to talk about these things. And not just having my mom said all the time, no, I'm fine, I'm not having any problems, I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm stable, I'm okay, and I'm not feeling sad, and even though we know she's going through this specific situation. So it's obvious that she might not feel that okay, right? It's important to talk about it. That was one conversation I had with my mom. The other conversation was with my sister, and something that really hit me was the situation with my nephew. My nephew is having problem at school, high school actually, and he's going through bullying right now. He's been bullied at school, and that's something that really, really hurts me. And it made me think about the past as well, because I was bullied as well. When I was a teenager, actually not even very little, I was a teenager around, 13, 15 years old. And it was a really hard time. But what I talked to my sister about, and it really hit me, nobody in my family knew about that. My sister, she was so surprised last week when she talked to me. She was like, like 20 years about that and I didn't know, like I just know about it? How come? Why? My dad, honestly, I don't know if he knows about it. My mom, I think she knew about it, but at that time she used to travel very often, and I think she was busy and she didn't realize about it, because either way she would have noticed it, 100% sure. And after that, well, I think I finished my high school, and then I just never talk about it. Why? Because I put it on the side. I put it like that's something not important. I wanted to delete it from my life, and I was like, no, that's not happen to me. I completely tried to deny it and get it out of my life. That happened many, many years ago, more than 20 years ago. Okay, maybe 20 years ago, something like that. And I cannot believe that really I did not tell anybody. And I think about it, why? Do you know what happened then? I ended up hurting myself, and yeah, I went through hell during that time, and I didn't want to tell anybody because I was a good girl that had no problems at all, that was perfect, and I didn't want to have or cause problem in my family. I didn't want to make them worry or make them feel bad about me. I didn't want to be vulnerable as well, because I was like, no, I'm fine, and I wanted to ignore those feelings for myself and make sure that I was not going through that situation. But I was going through that situation. It was really hard. At the end, I went to self-process. I had to change parts of my behavior, and that kind of got better, and well, that was like another story. But it was a difficult time. If I had talked about it with my family, with my mom, with someone, if I had looked for help at school, it would have been much easier for me. I'm sure about that. But I didn't do it. Why? Because I didn't love myself enough to do it. And that's why I tried to deny the feelings that I had, how I felt, the difficult time I was going through, and I put it aside, and I put it as something not important to me, to the others. After that situation, I learned to kind of shut out my feelings, and especially the bad ones, and I'm learning about that. I'm learning to express when something I don't like, to even tell myself, hey Leslie, you don't like this, it's not okay. Because it's something so unconscious that happens in your mind. It's something you start doing when you're very young, and you kind of make it normal to you. Sometimes other people, remember once at work, like one of my colleagues, she was like, you don't show any discomfort with that thing that we know that is annoying, and it's really annoying, and it should be bothering you, but you don't show it, and it should bother you because it's not okay. And I was like, yeah, if I think about it, yeah, that was something that bothered me, but my level of resistance, of kind of ignore those bad situations in my life has become something normal, and that's something I really have to improve. And I have to learn to be vulnerable and say, yes, that's happening to me, I'm going through this situation, I'm feeling bad, or I'm feeling like this, and it's fine, I'm human. We are human. If you're going through a situation like that, we are human. We could feel mad sometimes. We could feel sad sometimes. We have problems. People let us down. And that's normal. That's life. We have to learn to be vulnerable and to express those things we don't feel good about. Recognize and acknowledge that we have problems. that other people don't like us, that other people could be mean to us. It could happen, and you have to recognize about it and acknowledge. You don't have to sacrifice yourself for the well-being of other people, not even your family. So don't. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Hope that was useful to you. And please, if you're going through that situation, just do not ignore your feelings anymore. Do not say no to you anymore. Say yes and acknowledge your feelings. Just acknowledge that they're there. If it's something bad, if it's a problem, we're human. It's okay. It happens. We get cheated on. People don't like us, and that's okay. It's normal. That could happen. We make mistakes as well. And of course, we feel bad sometimes. We have good days. We have bad days. It's normal, and it's okay to acknowledge that. If you're really sad because a person hurt you and it really let you down, so acknowledge it. I'm sad. I'm feeling like this. Acknowledge that feeling. Acknowledge that you're mad if it's also something very bad and you have trouble trying to acknowledge your bad things going in your life, when you have a problem, where you're feeling mad or something you don't like. Acknowledge it. I don't like this situation. Put your boundaries, put your limits. Realize that it's for you, that you're doing it, and it's healthy. It's good. So do it. Keep that in practice. For that, you have to be vulnerable. It's important. That's why vulnerability is something good. It's something that helps you out and makes you feel good with yourself and brings that love to yourself up, and with a higher self-esteem, self-love, and peace. So thank you so much for listening. Hope to see you in the next video, and hope you learn how to be more vulnerable to make your life happier, better, and full of love with the others and with yourself.